All right, everybody, this is Dr. Michael K. from the Center for Functional Health, and I'm really excited about today's conversation. Today, we're going to talk with Emmitt Henderson III, and this conversation matters deeply. He is the founder of the Male Lupus Warriors Corp, an organization bringing lupus awareness, mental health awareness, and support to the forefront. We're going to talk about his journey, the reality of living with lupus as a man, and how he's helping others find strength, community, and hope. Emmitt, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate this. I heard your podcast when I was listening to Mickey Trescott's podcast from Autoimmune Wellness, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to speak to this man. He's got an incredible journey, and here we are today. So thank you for going back and forth. I know we played phone tag, we played email tag, and all that. So Tag, you're it. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate it.
And I'm honored to be it right now with you here on your podcast, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's get into it. So, when did this journey begin? I mean, it's been going on for a while and there's a culmination of everything. And I was really moved by the fact that you have all these things going on, not feeling your best physiologically, and yet you do an amazing amount of stuff. So let's go back to the beginning and say, like, hey, what was that first thing you noticed? Like, something's up.
You know what? That will take me all the way to elementary school at 10 years old. At 10 years old, I had a rash and fever that was really hard for me to function in class and playing at recess with my friends. And when my dad and my mom took me in, all they can do was treat the fever with Tylenol, but they didn't know what to do with the rash. Then a couple months later, it still continued. The rash became more prominent, spread not just on my face, but on my chest and on my arms. And so at that time, they also took a biopsy of my arm of the where the rash was really big on my arm. And they came back a couple weeks later saying that we don't know what it is. You have rashes that are causing fevers, but right now at this point, they told my mom and dad he has rashes and fevers of unknown origin. That was the diagnosis. So there wasn't nothing they can do for me except continue with the Tylenol and I lived my life as a kid. I kept playing. I kept trying to get past through all of that. And then fast forward 15 years later, the fevers and rashes reduced, but then I started getting major joint pains. And as a man, as a manager in my position in the automotive and trucking industry, pain is not something men generally go into the hospital for. We try to tough it out. We try to say that, no big deal, we'll get through it or we'll ignore it. But for me, when it happened weeks and it was at a point where I could barely move my wrists, I had problems with my knees, my shoulders, and the three times, Mike, that I had went in, I got dismissed every single time because all they did was take x-rays and told me nothing's wrong, and I got sent home three times. After three times, over a course of about 4 to 5 months, I stopped going. I stopped going. 2 years I dealt with the pain, which was really bad. And then finally, the pain went from the joints to my lower back. I know there's no joint in my lower back. I decided to go in one more time and hopefully not to get embarrassed for them to tell me nothing's wrong. And then this time, Mike, they decided to draw blood. When they drew blood, it turned everything upside down. That was the beginning of my diagnosis. I was in the hospital for 3 months later after that.
And what age were you then?
I was 25 years old at the time, and this was in 1995.
So age 10, the rashes happened. Age 25, they finally come to the diagnosis.
They finally came to a diagnosis with years of me going through pain, through fevers, through, joint issues, hard to sleep, popping Tylenol pills like they were candy just to get rid of the joint pains. I finally got a diagnosis. But to me, that was just like the beginning of a long way because those Tylenol pills, three twice a day. Now I went home 3 months from the hospital with 30 pills on my regimen, 30 pills. And most of the pills were for lupus, for kidney disease, and then for side effects from the medications I was taking. So it was tough, man. It was tough. And then going home, I thought that I could live my life by going back to work and everything. I couldn't do it. The pills were keeping me from being energetic. The steroids and everything put a lot of weight on me, and it was really tough dealing with it. But at the same time, they were trying to say that it was helping my lupus. Now, that's where I kind of beg to differ, Mike, because lupus started attacking my organs one at a time. I remember in one particular year and a half, I had flares, which with the flares are when the lupus symptoms become extreme. And I was hospitalized every month for 2 weeks' time just to bring my flares down and then to tell me which organ that lupus had affected. So when I went through my lung problem, I lost 25% of the bottom of my lungs. I had to walk around with an oxygen tank, at such a young age. And then I ended up having liver disease. And then my kidneys were at the same time maintaining, but they were still failing because when I got diagnosed in 1995 with lupus, it was the kidney failure that was caused by lupus nephritis at the same time. And so liver disease, kidney disease, my gallbladder got removed, my lungs were affected, my skin, I've had shingles, I've had gout, I've had so many other things. And then it got to my heart. I got into heart failure. I was in complete heart failure. They unfortunately told my parents that I may not make it through the night, but an experimental drug at the time saved my life. It got me through it. And my heart started coming back. And when that happened, I was in the hospital for another month for trying to just revive everything. And then I had to go to rehab because of paralysis. I had to learn how to walk and talk and speak vocally. I lost my ability for all of that. So 3 months of that, I ended up, leaving the hospital in a wheelchair. But I felt like things were on the upside. And then here comes my doctor telling me that we need to do something. If your heart has another flare like that, I may not make it through the next flare. So my doctor found a clinical trial for me. Never heard of a clinical trial before, never knew what it took, but it was specifically for lupus, and the doctor believed that I was a perfect candidate. I did the clinical trial in the hospital for 3 months for that. It was a bone marrow stem cell transplant that I had. And that actually shut down my lupus compared to how it was. The flares were less, my body felt more energized. And then the blessing of all, years later, 2012, when my kidneys went in complete failure, I got a kidney transplant from my younger brother. So with the heart gaining its strength, the clinical trial giving me hope that lupus is suppressed, and now a transplant, I tell you, at that time I thought that I was literally cured. But Mike, unfortunately, lupus wasn't done. It
Mm,
kept peeking its head in every time. Since then, I've had avascular necrosis, which is joint where the blood doesn't get, or excuse me, the joints don't get blood supply to the joint in the bone. So I had a right knee replacement, I had a shoulder replacement, and right now my left hip is needing to be replaced. So because I got some things lined up, that is more of a not as important as a transplant, of course, because I want the transplant done, but yeah, I'm just in pain daily. So at this point, not to mention, Mike, let me back up a little bit. After, even though that I had all these things happen with the clinical trial, with the transplant, I was feeling good. And then, yes, I did have the joint replacements. I also had a stroke in 2018, 2019. I had these really bad major migraines that I couldn't explain. And I finally went in for that. And after they did an MRI, my neurologist told me that I have a brain and wave pattern that he hasn't seen in his 27 years. And he suspected that it was an unknown because it was due to lupus and steroids. So he
mm,
called it encephalopathy of the brain. And so I've dealt with the headaches, and every so often they relieved a little bit, but every so often I still get them. But that unfortunately, Mike, took me out of my career. I managed to keep my career in automotive as a manager all these years, despite going through all these problems. I just took time off when I needed to, and with FMLA, they allowed it. So it was
Right.
perfect. It was perfect. But then when you took away my employment, that was what got my mental health every day waking up for a purpose. Go to work. I got numbers to make. I got this to do. I got to take my medication. I got to keep this. I got to keep that. It kept me focused. But now you took my income away. You took my job away. I felt like I needed to do something. I picked up a pen and a paper and I decided to tell my story about lupus and how it affected a man, mental health and also kidney disease. Male Lupus Warriors was born from there.
Gotcha. So I mean, so 25, the diagnosis comes down. At then you're probably like lupus. Well, wait, I can't get lupus. I'm a guy, right? Because we think lupus, we think primarily our female demographic. So what did the doctors explain to you?
When I was told it was lupus, it was almost 3 months later being in the hospital. It was a rheumatologist that walked in, which I've never heard that title before, and she told me that you have a disease that is rare for your age, your gender, and your ethnicity. And she says that you have lupus, which primarily is a woman's disease. So when she told me that, that's when everything was confused. I was in denial. And then I had asked the nurses if they have anything that I could read on lupus. Keep in mind, Mike, in 95, no internet was even around. So I couldn't Google anything. So when I had asked about a pamphlet or something to read, oh, they gave me one. But when I turned the page and it had a woman's anatomy, I was like, well, yeah, I don't think I could learn off of this. So
Right.
it was a lot that I was in denial. I never told the job because I was a young person of color. I didn't want them to have a reason to take me out of a management position, which I was in my age. So I never told the job. I only told my family. Some of my close friends didn't know, but when they seen the physical changes from me, I just had to tell them it's the medication I'm taking, the medication. But we never got in deep about it because the whole umbrella of what was going on with me was lupus and kidney disease. But even I, at the time, could not explain what lupus was. So therefore, I took myself out of a position to make sure I don't tell the story about what lupus is.
Gotcha. And when was the Male Lupus Warrior created? When was that? Has that been 5 years now? 10 years? How long has it been?
No, it was in 2019, so about
Okay.
7 years now that, it's been around. And I specifically put that together to not let people or men specifically go through what I went through without having any type of support. In the 90s.
Oops, we have technical difficulty, folks. Looks like we lost him. Let's see if he comes back. We'll give him a couple minutes here. Oh, there you go. Can you hear me okay?
There you are.
There you go.
I'm so sorry, Mike. I should have put my phone on do not disturb. Somebody
Oh,
called and I hung up and then I lost you completely. So
oh, good. No problem. We'll go. No problem at all. So we were talking about when you had created it, and you wanted to give a platform. There was, again, nothing to really Google and stuff like that, but you wanted to give a platform where you can help others deal with it. And specifically, as men, we're told to bottle this stuff up, right? We're told to, you don't be complaining, do your job. But we find in the chronic pain world, especially as men, we're often defined by our work, defined by how much we make and what we do for a living. And when you
Right.
can't do that, that hits hard here. I mean, the joints are getting hit, the ligaments are getting hit, the skin's getting hit, the organs are getting hit, and you're dealing with all that. But getting this, the head hit, that's the brain and the mind just not good for us as men.
And that's how I felt. That's how I felt. I felt like a huge chunk of my success of being able to make it this far has just been taken away from me. And so now I had to, like I said, keep myself busy, keep myself at a point to where how do I keep going, with this situation? So that's why I created it. And like I said, in the 90s and 2000s, there wasn't anything that I could turn to for help. Like I said, just finding out what lupus was, I asked the doctors, I got a pamphlet with a women's anatomy. So there wasn't anything for me, Mike. Now it's kind of like, and I know that the internet is available, that the doctors are telling a lot more, but I allow to give them experience. To this day, it's been over 31 years since I've been diagnosed with both of them, kidney disease and lupus. And I've gone through it to where, yeah, I can speak from a man's point of view and experience of everything I've been through. I can tell you every hospital knife that I had went under, man, and then what I still got going to this day. It's still so, but I'm doing it. My advocacy takes me out of the city, out of state. I travel a lot, and so I don't skip a beat unless I really have to do a medical complication, do the surgeries or whatever's the only time I won't or I can't do it.
Which is phenomenal. So, what do you say to men specifically who are dealing with chronicity of whatever fill in the blank, whatever diagnosis they're dealing with, to get up and move? I mean, you have a hip that's not great. You have the kidney that's not great. Other joints probably don't feel super. So,
Right.
what is the driving factor? I mean, why don't you just sit in the sofa and give up? I mean, that's what a lot of people would have done. That's why I was really moved when I heard your story. I'm like, okay, we got to go figure out what is your why.
My why is because I love my life. I love the fact that God has and my strength has allowed me to get through this for 31 years. And I'm not giving up now. I remember, Mike, it got to a point to where organ after organ, when I was going into the hospital and the doctors were telling me that I have another failure of an organ in my body, I was so positive on my doctors and myself to where, okay, let's do what we got to do. Let's take the medication. Let's schedule for procedures. But I'm ready. And it was just like that. We got through everything. And so to this day, I still believe that that is my motivating factor of keeping going. And then what added the bonus on is when one person tells me that I had helped them just by telling my story of how I made it easier for them to motivate themselves. And if Emmitt can do this, then I should be able to do that. That right there is the prize that is the reason why I'm still continuing to do this. I made myself into an advocate to where people see and know my story. I have it on my website. I have things that I've been doing, and they're like, Jesus, this guy. I thought he's doing dialysis. He's on a cruise. He's doing this. He's doing that. Yeah, yes, I take my machine with me on the cruise because I need to do dialysis. So doing all of that, I would also tell somebody you have to listen to your body. If your body says no, you just can't do it, then no, you can't. Maybe you do need that rest to build that strength and whatever it is that you're ailing from. I definitely get my rest. And when I do, and I feel like I'm motivated, I will get up and see how my day takes me. And it's been taking me pretty far every day.
And the importance of restoration, that's medicine in of itself, right? Because that allows the platform for rehabilitation at that given time. You're recuperating, all that kind of stuff. But But as men, we're told to push, push, push,
Yeah, well,
push. Right? One more repetition, go a little bit further. One more set, a little bit heavier weight. Just walk a little bit more distance. So how do you couch it to a man like that? Rest is okay.
it's all mental. It's all mental because if I listen to my body and my body tells me, "Hey, you can do it," that's that I need that mentally I can get up and do this. I'm going to plan it out and get it done. If I wake up and I'm in a severe pain, then that triggers my mind to say, hey, let's get your medications. Let's take care of it. The day is just starting. Let's rest for a couple hours. Let's see how you feel later. Or let's change your plans around. Every day I try to make goals for myself, but those goals are easy, accomplishable goals. You can't make goals that are hard to where you have to struggle to make it. No, make them to where they're easy for you. Have that feel of, yes, I did it, and then stretch that goal out a little bit more the next day and see how you do. So, and I do that. I practice a lot of that, and it works for me. And despite my hip being almost literally at the edge of breaking, it's that bad. I still walk around with a cane to get where I gotta go and do what I have to do. I'll limp, I'll get there slower, but I'll get there. And that's my whole point of winning. That's my point of winning.
It's great. I had a patient yesterday, a gentleman. I'm like, you need to use a cane. He's like, I don't need no cane. I'm like, well, if you fall and you bust up that hip or you fall and you hit your head, we're going to have another issue, right? So, sometimes us as men, we're not always the brightest tools in the shed.
No,
So yeah, sometimes you just have to do certain things. End of story.
yeah, and what you just said, Mike, about, the fact that do I have to use a cane? You know what? How am I going to look in the public? I'm a man, I can work it out. No, first of all, I bought the most stylish cane that I get compliments on every single time. So things can be done to make your life easier, to make your health better. But if it takes medical devices, please use them. They're only there to help you.
Yep, I agree. I convinced one gentleman to get a cool walking stick, so that's fine. We still got the job done, right? Because our brains is because we'll see that cane as a sign of weakness.
Yeah. And there's days where I feel like I don't need the cane today. Let me try to be more independent from it. But the condition that my hip is in, it's not going to make it any better. If I'm going to make my walking easier for me, I'm going to do it. And if it has to be the cane, then yes, it's the stylish cane I have that's blinged out with a nice ruby end handle. So yeah, I'm okay with that.
Good, I like that. Yeah, so that little ounce of prevention, right? That little change can save someone from making their condition worse or
Oh
adding a new
man,
condition, right? That new
absolutely.
makes add a new condition. So
Absolutely.
you've seen a slew of doctors,
Oh yeah.
right? Can you share? Was there one doc that stood out? Like this guy is, crazy. I'm not dealing with this person. And the one doc who you thought was, wow, really outstanding. Like you mentioned the rheumatologist, right? So can you
Yes.
share, like in your experience, because you've seen a lot of doctors,
Yes.
who stood out and who was like, I would never see this person again. Don't mention names or anything, just from
Yeah.
the
No.
the, the patient consumer perspective.
From the patient perspective, first of all, when I was diagnosed in 1995 by a female rheumatologist, I asked her to be my rheumatologist, and she was for the next 27 years until she retired. My primary doctor lasted 25 years until he had a medical condition, and my nephrologist is 32 years and ongoing. So
Right.
when it comes to my doctors, I made a good relationship with them. That's very important because every time we talk, we're all on the same page. The doctors listen to me because they know that I'm also a pro advocate for myself, and they basically hear everything and do everything I ask. Now, the doctors in that I was referred to as the ones that are like, wait a minute, I don't know if he knows what he's talking about. Is when I go into the emergency room. When I go into the emergency room and the doctors don't know me right away, when they interrupt me from me telling my story, my conditions, my past meds, what I'm allergic to, I have to stop them from talking. I'm like, yo, excuse me, I'm trying to tell you before you move on. Let me tell you my condition and the conditions that might help you go forward with why I'm here today. And then they stop to listen. But here's the thing, Mike, if I did not speak up for myself, the doctors would have just done whatever it takes to read off their chart to think that they can help me when in my condition it could have been the opposite. So we all have to be pro um, active for ourselves and our health and make sure that we know what we're talking about when it comes to the doctors. The doctors will listen, but you have to get their attention.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, one of the things we do for our side is we try to create that healthcare team. Uh, Doctors who will speak with my patients, not at my patients. And I think that's really
Absolutely.
important. And doctors who are willing to speak to one another. You think like, in a hospital setting, everyone's talking to everybody, but a lot of times they're not always doing that. So,
Right.
I think you're very, very fortunate to have that healthcare team, and that's most likely why you really have excelled, even in the setting of having the pain and dysfunction.
I agree. I agree. Knowing that my doctor's with me for so long and, with all the things that I have been through, they made it so much easier. My current doctors now are doing the same thing because I'm kind of leaving the same path that I was on before with them to let them know, I hear guys, this is my situation. Now you see everything from my chart, but let me also tell you how I'm feeling today. And they hear me out and they listen. So, I know that I still have a good team right now.
Excellent. So on our side, a lot of times people come to us and are like talking about what kind of diet they should follow, what kind of supplements they should take, and somebody's like, I'm not going to take medicine, and medicine is bad. I'm like, no, no, thank God for medicine. Medicine is great,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Are some medicines overprescribed? Sure. Are a lot of supplements overprescribed? Yeah, you better believe it,
Yes.
right? So, what has been your journey looking at like, because I knew you were again on the autoimmune wellness podcast speaking to Mickey Trescott, and she does a lot of AIP work. So, what has your journey been like when you looked at stuff like, what did a holistic doc say?
Yeah. I've been approached by all kinds of different ways on what people think that can help me. And especially when it comes to diets, when it comes to supplements, when it comes holistic, when it comes natural, just things like that. And to me, I wasn't such a big, okay, okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. I felt like I had so much going on with my body. The wrong thing could trigger something else, and I don't know what that could be. So I wasn't really educated on like dialysis or excuse me, AIP protocols and
Mhm.
foods and stuff like that. Wasn't educated in that till like recent. And when it came to like just overall, when I was on the steroid, I was afraid to eat because of how much weight it put on me. And then even if it was healthy food, it didn't matter. Some
Right.
of the stuff I would throw. So it was hard for me to accept a specific diet. Today, it's kind of like I do eat, but I eat very minimal. With the dialysis doing 6 days a week, I could eat and gain 5 pounds. With the dialysis, I just lose the 5 pounds.
Mhm.
So I just try to eat what my body needs for fuel to keep on going. And I do. I just have to watch, what's the big word? Not the well, calcium is one of them, but I need to take inhibitors, blockers for it. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, I just have to watch things that I eat. So very minimal is what I do. And but I'm also I live life to my best. I love meat and steak. You put a steak in front of me for a celebration, I'm gonna eat it.
Mhm.
It's this is for me. This is you're celebrating me. You wanted to bring me a steak. Hell, I'm gonna eat it, of course.
Right.
But I don't go crazy. I don't do fast food and stuff like that. So mine is a little complicated because again, I just get by day with healthy snacks and nothing big until I get my transplant done.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, and to be honest, like I think a lot of times people go searching for like a quote unquote holistic approach, but don't realize that if the kidneys aren't functioning, they have to be really careful with the supplements they take. And
Yep.
and then if you're taking medicine, you got to be careful with the supplements you take, because there are often contraindications, like you shouldn't be taking this when taking this. And
Yep.
we see that a lot. So I ask people, at least, now you do an AI, kind of deal. Just you got to research it more before you take anything. And you should always let your doctor know. And if your doctor doesn't know, they should investigate what you can and cannot do.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I wish I could have done that as my primary function when I was approached with that. But because again, my body's going through so much,
So
I just don't
much.
want to take chances of adding something that I have to be cautious about daily. I got to remember, well, I ate that. What if I eat this for dinner? I don't know if it'll mess up my stomach, or just things like that. And so I just kind of, what makes me feel good is what I do daily.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you're going through all this, and you decide I'm going to advocate. This is what I'm going to do, and you advocate locally. You go to DC. What has that been like? I mean, travel can't be always the easiest, and you're going from San Diego to DC. That's not a 20-minute car ride, obviously. So
No,
what has that been
no.
like?
You know, it's actually been a blessing because my fiance has lupus as well. And so she's also my caregiver when we do these trips. So they fly her out with me as well. And when that happens, we set up my dialysis in the hotel room, and then we go to the rest of the meetings, and I get to network with people that I may have seen on social media, or I congratulate them on the advocacy they're doing. And then on the way home, everything was so much worth it that we forgot about the struggles of the machine, the dialysis every night. No, we don't think about that. We think about what we accomplished and how the day went. So it's a blessing. Like, I cannot complain at all. And we do it every time I get the opportunity.
Beautiful. But there also has to be some bottleneck when there's advocacy. Who you meet with when you go to DC. What would be the biggest push right now? Like, where are you seeing it go forward, and where do you see it like I can't get it past this point?
When you mean like the reason why we're going to
No,
DC?
like you're talking about lupus, and of course you're talking about like how can we get more support for that, right? So
Oh,
when
yeah,
you go
yeah.
to DC, is it like we can help you or we can't help you?
No, it's kind of like putting the message and the story out is enough. And where it goes from there, of course, we want to get to the highest point of advocacy, but sometimes you're right, it don't. And maybe we're talking to some people that is not really interested in this, and they're waiting for us to just tell our part so we can go. It's kind of hard to say, but they know why we're there. And when they hear the story, now when I told my story, it was all ears because again, a man going through this and telling the story and is something that I get a lot of wow factors from. And here's one thing that I say, Mike, because of all the wow factors that I got from telling my story, I didn't know I had a story until I told it. And I write that a lot because I didn't know. I went through all these years trying to survive, but yet talking to somebody, it's like their survival guide because I got through it and they have hope now that they'll get through what they got through or going through.
Yeah, you're now like another male who has lupus. You're now their GPS. You're now their guide.
It's what it seems like, and I'm proud to help as much as I can. I'm not going to show them how I did it. I'm going to show them how they can do it.
Which again is beautiful. And we opened up the conversation when you and I were chatting back and forth. You deal with a lot of discomfort.
Yeah.
So how do you get up and go? Do you go in spite of it? Do you compartmentalize it? Because as men, we have a wonderful gift of compartmentalizing things, good and bad. How do you get through that day? I mean, it's
Well, it's like what the and let me add on to what another big issue is besides my hip. I had back surgery done at the end of December, and I had rods from 4 through 9, rods and pins holding up 4 through 9 in the thoracic, which is the middle of the back. And they told me, yeah, a healthy person, 4 to 6 months. Somebody with lupus and kidney disease, this can go a lot longer, and it can go longer. And I'm feeling it every single day. But I know the stopping points. I know when my timer goes off, it's time to take the Tylenol that I have for it, and I keep going doing what I got to do. Like today, I'm meeting up with a friend to fix my reverse lights on my truck so I could add my carrier to add my scooter to put a reverse camera on the back of that. So yes, I got help, but I'll be the one under it, saying, "Hey, let's do it this way, let's do it that way." But it has to be done. So, and I feel like I'm okay to do it. So I'm going to do it. Now, at the end of the day, yes, I'll be tired. My body will need rest. That's when I will lay it down, do my dialysis tonight, and rest it off.
Gotcha.
That's my day.
Gotcha. And how do you feel like faith, purpose, community all plays a role in your resilience? Because you are damn resilient, my friend.
And I appreciate that, Mike, but it wouldn't be without the support from my family, my fiance, and the community. My faith is strong in God. I grew up as a Catholic. God got me through what the doctors didn't think I would make it through, my heart failure, but God and my perseverance got me through that. Here I am today to tell my story, to be an advocate, and just the responses that I get from the community on every post that I do, every email that I check, it's nothing but thank you, Emmett. Thank you. And I'm like, it's my honor, and you're very welcome.
So what gives you hope for the next generation of lupus warriors? What happens next?
That science they've already came up with biologics that are helping patients and get to a point where maybe something like a CAR T cell therapy will be more successful for lupus and give more people better days than complaining about being in pain all day. I would want a generation of lupus to look for more into um, clinical trials. When I'm reading posts and somebody's in pain every single day for the past 3 months, it's like, what are they doing to make every day better instead of posting, "I'm in pain"? Are you looking for clinical trials? Are you speaking to your doctors for alternative medications? I mean, what is it that keeps you in pain? Because I can do and say the same thing, but I know that the regimens that I'm on my way of getting done will get better. And so, therefore, I've reached out and exhausted all my options on helping myself, and I'm okay with where I'm at.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So how can someone support your message, your organization?
They can go to my website at malelupuswarriors.com. I'm always taking donations for help and to keep me going. I do support groups monthly. And I try to just arrange any type of events and functions that I can, especially when I'm in good health. I took a little break from that because I know the transplant's coming. And so once I get that call, Mike, everything
Yeah,
stops and is on hold.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yes,
That's for sure.
sir.
All right, as we wrap up, any words of wisdom that you want to share?
Yeah, I do. One of my main quotes that I came up with, and which makes sense and applies to me, is that I've turned my pain into power. The power of my advocacy, of my strength, of everything I'm doing now would not exist without the pain that I went through. So your pain is verified. Don't think that you're in pain and it doesn't count. It doesn't matter, because yes, you do matter. You are going through, but you also need to do something for yourself. Be proactive for yourself. Talk to your doctors on what it's going to take to feel better, and you will get a solution.
Absolutely love that. Really appreciate your time today as well. Everybody, this is Dr. Michael K with the Center for Functional Health, and today I was joined by Emmitt Henderson III, founder of Male Lupus Warriors Corp. Please check him out online. Listen to the other podcast. I hope you were moved by this podcast as well. So everybody, thank you. Stay healthy. Stay strong. We'll see you soon. Emmitt, hold on one second. We'll end it right now.
All right. Thank you, everybody.